Hi, I'm Katie Geiger, and this is the second math video. The first math video talked about how to connect meaning with number, how to teach things in an integrated way so that skills aren't being isolated, and how to scaffold some games with kids so that numbers made sense for them. In this math video, I'm going to talk about the importance of description, of language when you are talking about math with children, whether it's numbers or shapes. I'm also going to talk about how you can compare and contrast shapes and numbers, numerals that kids see. And I'm going to show you some more games that you can scaffold to help children learn more about number sense. So, starting with geometry, starting with shapes. You're going to talk about shapes and all the game pieces and all the stuff that's in the room, all the toys and things they have. And you're going to talk about it like this. Well, let me get this circle lid off of the Play-Doh. It's all the way around. There's no corners on it. I'll get this circle lid off. Hand me that cylinder. I'm going to build some light towers along the road that we have made. I need that triangle piece, the one with the 3 corners and the 3 sides. I'm going to build a house. It's going to be the roof. I didn't just say triangle. I described it. I said the one with the 3 corners and the 3 sides. I said the one with no corners. It's all the way around. I want to hook together the language that they know with the new term for it. Circle, rectangle, triangle, square. All the sides are the same. So, here's something you can do to help them learn that. Just trace large shapes on a piece of paper. Give them paper to tear and to fill up the shape. And the whole time they're doing it, you are talking to them. They can glue it. You know they're going to go all over the place with it. Or you can just put dots to show them where to put the glue. But here's what you're going to say. We're going to fill up this circle. We're going to fill up this round shape. Oh, look, that one's got a corner. You're building language. That one's got a straight edge. You're getting fine muscle. You're getting language. Not only the term of the shape, but you are describing it to them. You're using words like corner. You're using words like sides. So you're going to do that for a lot of different shapes. Just color them, tear the paper, and put them in there. What's the same about these two? So many children in kindergarten will say they have 4 sides. That's how they will describe it. Yes, they do both have 4 sides. Yes, they do both have 4 corners. What's different about them? So you are comparing and contrasting. Well, this one is longer. It sure is. It has 2 sides that are long and 2 sides that are short. You have to give them that description, that definition of it, over and over and over again. Remember, this one does have 4 corners and it has 4 sides, but what's the special thing about a square? It has all sides the same. And you can prove it to them like this. You can take a series of blocks that are all the same size and line them up on each side and count them. Prove it to them. Let them prove it to you that all the sides are the same size. The more they get to prove it physically, not just looking at it and seeing it, but the more they get to prove it through their body, through their senses, the more it will connect to their brain, because that is how children learn. Don't just always show them the equilateral triangle. I cannot tell you how many kids come to kindergarten and they know this is a triangle, but they're not sure what that is. And they have to prove it to themselves over and over, and they have to count how many corners and how many sides there are. They'll know this is a triangle, but they won't be so sure about this. They have to count it over and over and over again. So show them lots of different kinds of triangles, not just the one where all the sides are the same, not just the equilateral triangle. Go ahead and use that word with kids. Don't forget the trapezoid, don't forget the rhombus, don't forget the hexagon. They're ready for these words. As soon as they know the circle and the square and the triangle, then go ahead and start putting in these extra shapes. Kids learn at a phenomenal rate while they are 3, 4, and 5. So let's use that gift that they have and give them as many vocabulary words and descriptions so that they can tell you, I know it's a square because it has 4 sides and they're all the same. I know it's a triangle because it has 3 corners and 3 sides every single time. So you are teaching them to describe what they see, giving them language for it. You're showing them how to compare and contrast it. What's the same about these two shapes? What's different about them? Comparing and contrasting. When children do it, when you have them pull out the language that will tell you what's the same and what's different, that is what cements it to their brain. That's a powerful learning tool. So I've talked a lot about geometry. What does that mean in terms of numbers and number sets? What's the same about the 1 and the 7 when you look at them? Yes, they both have a straight sides to them. What's different about them? Yeah, that 7 has a part that goes across the top too. Children, when they write numbers, always want to start at the bottom. That's how their brains are programmed, to start at the bottom. And we in school are always telling them, start at the top. So I've put kind of a dot at the top. If I'm working on children forming the numbers too, I am going to have them compare and contrast them, and then I'm going to give them a starting place so that they can just trace right on top. What's the same about the 4 and the 7? That's right, there are no curvy parts at all. What's different about the 4 and the 7? And then if I want them to trace these, I'm going to give them something to think about. Go straight down, turn the corner, go back to the top, straight down. Turning the corner, like when you turn the corner at the end of the block, they need to connect it to something they know. Now I got some curvy numbers. Children for a long, long time will get 6 and 9 mixed up, but if they say it over and over again, circle at the bottom, 6, circle at the bottom, at the top, 9. If they say it every time they form it, and if they're forming it with Play-Doh, and if they're forming it with watercolors, and if they are forming it with markers, and if they are saying it every single time, using more of their senses, noticing, comparing and contrasting, that will help to cement it in their brain. So I'm going to talk some more about comparing numbers, and I'm going to really ramp it up now for kids, like this. I want kids to compare and know which numbers are more and which numbers are less. So how am I going to get them to know that in a concrete way? I'm going to play this game with blocks. And I'm going to play it with a child, and we are just going to use this same number cube from the last video where there's just 1s and 2s and 3s. And we're going to just play it like this. You got a 2? I got 3. Which of us got more? 3. 3 is more than 2. Keep your cubes, I'll keep mine. Keep playing. You got a 3 this time. Go ahead and pull 3 cubes out. 1, 2, 3. I got 1. Now let's compare them. I am going to use that language, compare. Let me count, make sure. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. You count yours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is more than 4. We're not in competition, we're just trying to figure out which is more. And that's what I'm going to say before I begin the game. We're going to play a game where we roll the dice and we get cubes to match it, and we're going to see each time which number is more. I'm only playing with 1s and 2s and 3s. I'll scoot those out of the way and we'll start over again. Then you can move to playing it with the bigger numbers. Okay, you go first. You got a 5, pull out 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Line them up. I got a 1! Which has more? Which has less? That concept of less is really difficult for children. It's a hard thing for them to learn. I think that we are always programmed to know more and not programmed so much to know less. So they need a lot of practice with that word less. You can play that game over and over and over. They do not get tired of it. Or maybe you're going to play a game of cards. I have just got the 1s and the 2s and the 3s here together. I'm going to mix them up. And instead of using the dice today, we're going to play this same game, but we're going to use cards. And you know the ace just means 1 because there's only 1 piece in it. Okay, you pick a card. Get your cubes to match it. I'll pick a card. I'll get my cube. Which is more, 1 or 2? How can you tell? Prove it. All the time I am telling children to prove things. Is that a term they're going to need as they go through their career in math? Absolutely. Proofs, proofs, proofs. For young children, they need to prove it with concrete objects. Older children will prove it with formulas. All right, pick another card. How many did you get? That's the beauty of cards. They not only have the number, but if your child still needs to count them to prove it that this really is a 3, it's right built into it. I got a 2. Let's prove it. Let's see who has more. And what is so fun is when you get to talk about equal. If you both pull up the same number, they are the same. That means they're going to have the same amount. Look, 2 is equal to 2. That's a concept that they need to have. 2 is the same as 2. Doesn't matter what color it is, doesn't matter what shape it is. That term equal. And in school, every time I say the word equal, I hook it together with is the same as. You got the same as I did. Then I play that same game when they got the hang of it that way. Then I add in 4, 5, and 6. That's the scaffolding part. Start simple, build in complexity. When they have the hang of that, I add in 8, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Building the complexity. They have to be confident at one level before you move it to the next level for them. A game that my family has enjoyed, and now the grandchildren are enjoying, is called Stealing Piles. So for this game, I have a full deck of cards, and now they're learning that after 10 comes the jack, which means 11, and the queen, which means 12, and the king, which means 13. So when we play this game, I'm going to scaffold it for them. Now, we have a pile of cards, and this child gets to pick the first card. Is there a match? No, they just keep it. I get the next card. A match! I'm going to steal your pile. At the end of this game, when you've played it through the whole deck and you push them together and you can compare which pile had more this time. When you play that game of stealing piles, you are talking about number recognition, you are matching, and at the end, you are comparing. So, what have you learned in this video? You have learned that you've got to describe things for children. You've got to describe what makes a circle, what makes a 7, what makes this pile more than that pile. You have to use those descriptive words. You've learned to compare and contrast. What's the same about these numbers? What's the same about these shapes? What's different about them? And you have learned to scaffold. You have learned to take simple card games, simple block games, simple dice games, and move from something very simple into something more complex, building on what they know. These games are so much fun. Kids do not get tired of them, and they will even just play them by themselves if they can't find a partner. Think about what they are learning through all of their senses, and because you have scaffolded it from something simple to something complex. My biggest hope is that they will learn to love math. Love it! Just as much as they love when you read stories to them. Have fun with math.